Hello and welcome to this YouTube channel, Yellow House Wellness, and we are having a good chat about my RBM breathwork process. So this particular week, I am recalling my session number 9 of a 90-minute breathwork session. Um, the breathe itself goes for 90 minutes. The whole session itself goes for 3 to 3.5 hours. We talk about our week that's been, we create our intentions, we do the breathe, we do a bit of journaling, and then we debrief from our experience. And if you're wondering why I never get changed, it's because you recorded all of these in the one day. So I'm currently, I've just finished my session number 19 this week. And so I'm going back from the beginning and recalling these experiences, one for myself. And my golly, I've come a long way. And two, to be able to share this experience with you all to see how incredible breath work can be, all from taking a conscious breath, a conscious, fuller than usual, continual, circular breath. It sounds so easy. I mean, and it is easy. Sometimes, in the moment, maybe not always, but such incredible results for doing not much and just allowing things to be, allowing things to move, allowing things to pass, allowing things to shift in a very, very gentle way, um, which is not like other breathwork styles. This is a very gentle, um, parasympathetic style of breath work where you are working with the body. You are working at the level of the body. You are working where you are not going beyond what feels safe, and you have the power to change your intention at any point in time. If it feels too much, you will only go where you are ready and willing to go. So, this is session number 9. So this is from the beginning of April 2025, and we are currently in June 2025. So this was the reflection of the past week that I've had. And if we recall some of the last few intentions that I've had here, so um, a couple of weeks ago, we had my intention was to have a devotional relationship with myself on all energetic levels to nourish and support myself and my physical body. And then the previous week's intention was clearing all blocks in the way of feeling safe in my body and establishing a new relationship with how I communicate with my body. So, um, the following week, there's just a bit of a reflection on my week. And I've written here, a lot has come up this week around things and emotions that I'm holding in my body. Learning a bit more about cortisol. So, the 2 weeks ago intention around my relationship with my body, I recognized how much I'm living in fight, flight, freeze. And I obviously have really high cortisol levels because my body is expressing that. Um, so learning a bit more about cortisol and how cortisol actually works, and also learning about how to eat to prevent cortisol from being so significant. So really working at the level of blood sugar levels. Um, um, And also, I learned here how high cortisol can be passed down as a generational trauma. So, if in utero you can be born addicted to drugs, of course, it makes perfect sense that you can be born with high stress in your body. So you don't even have to do anything to get that. You're just born that way because you're in an environment in which that was how it was. Um, I also have written here that I see how this pattern has come from both of my parents, but expressed in different ways of behavior and physical expression and belief systems. Um, my dad has big, big um, generational trauma around money. He um, also has this belief system that life has to be hard and you have to work really hard, and if you're not doing something, you're not useful. And he is also very controlling around money. So I recognize those patterns. Um, there's also from my mum, like worthiness patterns that I recognize in myself, and neglect, not putting my needs as priority. So yeah, recognizing these patterns in them that I also have. And you'll also recognize if you've listened to all of these up till now. So my relationship with not saying things I needed to say to a couple of people in my life who have played pretty significant roles in some of my downfalls where I really felt like I was a victim in these moments. I won't name names, but just replaying these conversations in my head and um, saying the things in my head that I wish I said in those moments. Money was also a topic here. My car was getting serviced, and I was trying to release the worry to the universe. The car costed less than expected, but we'll need to get quite a few things done, which will add up to be quite expensive. We recently got another lot of stuff done to the car, and I had another win. Um, where the quotes that they had provided, one of them was like $100 cheaper. And even though it's $100 cheaper, it's still a win. Still a win. Um, also, just being in this place where Michael's pay was late, and I didn't worry or stress. I wasn't like checking the account every 5 minutes to make sure, oh, is it in yet? No, it's not in yet. Is it in yet? I just, things were coming out as direct debits, so I just moved money and made it work. Didn't get worried about it. And we also went to the Tiny Homes Expo this particular weekend, and we started drawing up the build for my new workspace. And this was a bit of a tough week, or this was a bit of a tough moment in terms of money because I had got my head around that this build would cost us about $50,000 to $60,000. And then as of course we drawn it out and we were trying to like quote the various steps and stages of the build. And it came to light that $50,000 to $60,000 was not nearly enough, and that it was going to be more like 80,000. And I had a bit of a freak out in that moment because like that's a huge jump. At least to me, in the building world, that might not be a huge jump, but to me, that was a huge jump. And then, of course, I was back in my head worrying about, can we afford that? Will the bank give us that money? I had to do a little bit of my own research on the banking calculator, and I did that, and I felt much better after doing that because I was like, okay, we can do that. That's doable. putting in what we earn, what our expenses are, and the bank calculator still saying, yeah, that's okay. I was okay with that, but it took me a little bit to get over that jump in cost in that moment. Um, there was also this thing that kept happening to me um, while I was on the freeway, and I'd forgotten about this until now. And I don't know what it's like in other countries, but if you're on a road that is 80 k's or higher, the right-hand lane is a right overtaking lane only. You don't hang out in the right-hand lane. Um, and so I was moving from the right-hand lane over to the left-hand lane and allowing cars that wanted to go faster than me to go past. But then I kept getting stuck behind cars that were going ridiculously slow. And then the flow of traffic, everyone would pass, and I would just be stuck there. And everyone would pass, and I would feel like I was there for an eternity. Um, and that happened quite a few times. It wasn't just once. And then it would take ages for me to be able to get back into the other lane and move past this stuck, slow person. Um, there was also a bit of stuff's happening, but not much is happening. Like it's happening, but also not happening. And you would have heard me say, nothing's never happening. So I know that nothing's never happening, but yeah, I was just kind of in a moment where nothing much felt like was happening. But also you can hear how much has been happening. Um, I've also written here after my last intention. Um, I feel like I need to know all the hows. Like, how am I going to be able to clear the blocks? How am I going to be able to feel safe? How am I going to be able to be better in my relationship with myself and my body? And how am I going to release stored stress and emotion? And I was just so caught up in that mental how. How do I do this? How do I achieve this? How? Um, just trying to plan everything and be in my head. And this was just kind of talking through that process. And in this particular brief, I didn't have an intention so much, but what I did was I released the how. I leaned into what was coming up for me and I released the how. That I released the need to control and be prepared and have everything figured out. And I got out of the how and and I let all of that go. And so what was my breathe like? Leaning into the how. So I've written here, my body feels like it's stiffening up. I have tension in my neck, in my shoulders, down my back, shivers down my spine. I feel tired because my head feels heavy, ready to lay down and lean into the how. My intention is to stay with and amplify the how. That is the material in the way of feeling safe and communicating with my body. So then I laid down. I felt my neck and shoulders and back feel really tight, sore, and stiff. My head was full of pressure. It felt very heavy and uncomfortable. I felt sharp discomfort in my throat, sharp pain moving down towards my lungs, like I was experiencing symptoms of a viral chest infection. I felt like the sensations were only being held from my sternum to the top of my head. My jaw was tight and I was clamping down on my tongue with my teeth in my mouth. I realized later that I was also holding tension in my legs, but as only as my left leg softened. I didn't recognize that tension until my leg relaxed. I told the feelings and sensations in my head, so I was doing a bit of an internal dialogue, that they were heavy and uncomfortable, and it started to dissipate and fade away. My lower legs started to feel tingly, and there were visuals and memories moving through my mind. I don't remember them, but I do remember Michael, my partner, being some of them. I fell asleep. I startled myself awake about 5 minutes before the 5 minute call, time was called. I kept my eyes closed and continued to breathe. My shoulders still felt a bit stiff. And as I write, and I feel like this process will continue as I go back to sleep, feeling a little bit cold, nearly needing the blanket in the debrief. I remember I had the blanket like right up here covering me. Um, yeah, in this process, um, I was complete with the breathe in that moment, but not complete completely. So I took that into my night sleep and I woke up feeling very different. And yeah, it was also really interesting to have that, I really don't live from that space in my head anymore. I've really learned through my human design that I have to live in my body. And even making decisions, I make decisions from my body. Being in my head is not very helpful. Um, and so, yeah, again, just not recognizing that person because I am not that person anymore. So really interesting to look back on these sessions. And it wasn't really even that long ago. That was April, and we are now June. So that was session number 9. Um, I hope you've enjoyed listening to my experience, and I really look forward to sharing session number 10 with you next. So stay tuned.